Welcome back to a video version, everybody. Let me get into my little bar real quick.
What are you doing over there? You sound like a little mouse. Oh.
Y'all ever had these?
And you brought your, you got your book.
I have my book. Okay, are y'all ready? Where's my beverage? There it is. Welcome. Here we go. Angela Snyder. This is the first video of the season. We've recorded like 94 million episodes and cannot remember to turn the camera on. But if you want to watch on YouTube, here we are, everybody.
We're waving to you now.
Mm-hmm.
You can see Fran eating her lunch.
Mm-hmm. You know what I was thinking about when I walked over here?
What?
We're at the library of Union University, and I didn't plan well, so I'm having to eat my lunch while we record.
It's multitasking.
Mm-hmm, multitasking. You know what I thought about when I was walking over here?
What?
Lots of times in my head, I call you Angelina.
Really?
I know. I don't know why. I just remembered that.
That is new information after a decade of
I know.
friendship. I had a book called Angelina Ballerina that Santa brought me in the 2nd grade.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't think about that. I thought about Angelina Jolie. And then I was like, no, that ain't it.
I'm just thinking about that mouse doing little pirouettes in her tutu.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more like the mouse than the Jolie version.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, I thought I got to remember to tell her that.
Angelina. My Uncle Joe, that, you know, we talked about him on the podcast when he died, and he had asked me to give his eulogy, and it was just so precious that he called me Angelina sometimes.
Oh.
And that's the only other person that's ever called me Angelina. So sweet Uncle Joe moment.
I
See,
love
you
that.
have no idea.
I love that.
Sometimes God just gives us a word for somebody.
Yeah, well,
You had no idea.
no, I didn't have any idea. I just chuckle because I think I've got to remember to tell her that. And I've never remembered. 10 years later, here I am telling you. Okay, hi everybody. How's it going? Welcome to the show.
So I have been so good at, you know, I confessed I can't remember to do my skincare. I can't remember this. I can't remember that. Well, I want y'all to know for 3 consecutive days, I used white strips on my teeth. Listen.
I need to know.
We're going to talk about it. But as I was trying to remember the name of what I'm doing, I went, I forgot to do that this morning. I was doing so good for 3 consecutive days.
Pride comes before the fall.
And burned on the day that I'm supposed to tell you about it. Okay, so I've been doing the Crest 3D Professional. They're at Walgreens.
Mm-hmm.
I did not realize they take 45 minutes of your time.
No.
So I have to put them on by a certain point in time and finish getting ready and get to the office. And
45 minutes? Angela, that's forever.
That's like 10 hours.
It is. It's like all day.
So when I send you boxers in the morning, I sound like I'm back in junior high with a retainer in my mouth. And I also saw, you know, on the last podcast, I talked about that LifeCell skincare combination thing I'm doing. They have an anti-aging teeth serum that looked kind of like, because as we age, the enamel wears off.
Our teeth age.
Discoloring.
Everything ages.
Yes. And
which is really kind of creepy.
I'm so glad that we're in the process of scheduling Susie Said So, because I need Susie to help me navigate all these things.
Susie, if you're listening, we're going to talk about this.
I also think about Susie every time I order something and love it. When I order something and I don't love it, I never think about Susie. I blame myself. But I have been better about my walking because my mind needs it. We've talked about walking. You've taught me how to make that a priority.
No, Angela, I thought you were going to say, you taught me how to walk.
You taught me how to walk, Fran Thomas.
No. You've been walking a long time, sister.
Last night at Bible study, the lady in my small group mentioned how she goes on her run. So I was like, I don't do that and never plan to, but I do love my walks.
I know which girl you're talking about because the whole time I've been staring at her. I'm like, you look like a runner.
Oh, she is. And she's got more energy than I do, and I'm proud of her. But I'm not a runner. I have the body of a walker.
Yeah.
Not a runner.
But we're not quite yet a mall walker.
No.
But it's like a progression or not a progression.
And when Rachel Mitchell taught me to stay in zone 2 with your heart, that's like the best thing in the world, because it really is a slower pace than I thought I had to achieve. But anyway, I have worn out my Hokas.
Best shoe ever.
So I rewarded myself with a new pair, but it is so stressful trying to remember which Hokas when you get on there, and it's like they're all.
I know that mine starts with a B.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you the name of it. I just looked for the one that starts with a B.
Well, I ordered some that said they were good for trail running because I walk on a gravel road.
Yeah.
So I'm very aware of how clumsy I am, but they're called Stinson 7, and they're amazing.
Not Stetson.
No, Stinson.
Like the
STIN.
cologne from
Not
1980s.
the cologne for the cowboy man, but And I do have a very dumb injury that I haven't even told you about. I've got a huge bruise. It's starting to go away on the top of my foot because one of the millions of times that I have dropped my iPhone, which is probably why my Bluetooth won't work, I drop my phone all the time. I've had every kind of case that's...
No,
whatever.
you need a loopy like I do.
I do. So I dropped my phone, and for some reason I thought, oh my goodness, my phone cannot handle all this impact. Don't let it hit the hardwood floor. So I put my foot in front of it.
What are you thinking? What did you think was going to happen?
This reminds me of when my mother-in-law said she saw the iron falling, so she reached out to grab the iron and realized like these reflexes sometimes do us no favors. So I got this huge bruise on top of my foot.
From your phone?
From my
Trying
phone.
to catch your phone.
From me being a moron. It's the dumbest injury.
Well, no, listen, I saw a video of it was a girl, she had a curling iron in her hand. I'll try to find it and put it in show notes because we can all appreciate it. She had a curling iron in her hand and she was singing along to some song and that was her microphone.
Oh no.
Okay, she's a girl. She knows like how a curling iron works. It was not plugged in, okay?
Okay.
She has a boyfriend that didn't have sisters. He doesn't know that you don't grab the barrel of the curling iron. It was plugged in.
Oh no.
I thought it wasn't. It was plugged in. She knew what she was doing. She knew to hold it by the, the bottom. Well, he sees her making this video, singing. He comes in behind her and grabs the hot barrel of the curling iron with his hands. And both of their reactions are like half funny and half terrifying.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So it made me think of my boys because there's so much that they've missed out on because they didn't have sisters that they just don't know. Like, don't grab the barrel of a curling iron. Even if you see that it's not plugged in, it could have just been recently unplugged.
Do you ever think, I don't think this as much now. I kind of do now that Atlas is 5 and all this energy. But when Cole was little, I would literally think, like, what are the very specific things that I'm taking for granted that I have not told him? For example, do not pee on the electric fence. Learned that one the hard way. Don't stick a fork in an outlet. He did not do that, but he came close. And then I thought, okay, do I say things like, don't jump off the roof of the house?
Yeah,
like,
yes.
How literal and specific.
Yeah.
And with boys,
Well,
it's so different.
Yeah.
Carl always says, if they are out of your sight, I don't care that he's 16, you better go check on them.
Yes.
Anytime they're quiet for too long. It's just so interesting, the difference.
Honestly, again, it takes till they're about 25 for them to like really
Grow
grasp.
their full brain.
They only think and see whatever's right in front of them at that moment.
Yeah.
And that guy just saw a curling iron as a microphone and grabbed it.
He went for it.
Woo!
I need to see that video.
I'll find it and put it in stories.
Bless his heart.
Bless.
Okay, I do have a new dumb iPhone addiction.
Okay.
I almost like think it's kind of like a fidget spinner. Like when I just need to put my brain on something for a few minutes, but it's on my phone.
Candy Crush?
No, it's not Candy Crush.
Have we talked about that?
Have we?
Were you a Candy Crush girl?
Once upon a time, I had to delete it because
I never played.
Oh my goodness. Well, you may or may not care about this one, but it's called 2048.
Okay.
It's numbers in a way that I don't even know how to describe.
It's a game?
It's a game. When we were coming back from Jackson Hole, they had it on. I didn't want to pay the $8 for the internet, so I had to find free things to do that were included with
Good for you.
United. And so I found this game, and y'all, I played this game for 2.5 hours.
I can't even visualize. What are you talking
It's
about?
numbers, and you slide them across and try to pair them up.
Okay.
And then, like, the 2s become 4s, become 8s, become 16s when you line up 2 together. And you're trying to get to the number 2048. I've not made it past 512, and I don't even know exactly if I'm playing it right. But for whatever reason, like, I can just sit there, and if something, you know, I don't know.
That's not mindless. That's like you're having to work
But
and
it's
think.
not like Sudoku or whatever that's called.
Never
where
played
you're
that one
really
either.
Having to add
No,
things. It's
I
not
didn't do that.
adding. It's just enough to where I don't know why I'm encouraging us to numb out on our phones.
Mhm.
I think that's what I'm doing without meaning to do it. But sometimes you just need.
I think this is
something to
intellectual.
do. Yes, we're gonna make it intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
Just not like that dumb thing at Cracker Barrel that makes me feel stupid.
The
every
little
time it
triangles
pings.
with the golf tees.
Yes.
I've never known or understood that game.
I always cheat.
I don't even know what you're trying to do. I've never understood
I
it.
just don't want to be an ignoramus or whatever the word is.
And I feel like that is a game that I honestly bet if I were a betting gal, I would say that most people at their table playing that game, they may not know how to play it either. They just want to look like they know what they're doing.
They're just hopping around.
Oh, I have no idea what I'm doing.
And then I wonder if it's like a novelty or boring to kids that have always had this technology. Like, is it fun to have a game that doesn't require, like, getting back to board games and cards, and will that become a popular thing again because they're so into technology all the time?
It makes me a nervous wreck. I was talking to, I'm not going to tell too much. I got to figure out how to say this. I was talking to a friend the other day that's a teacher, and she was telling me, this is lower elementary, okay? I'm not going to tell you the grade. I'm going to try to keep this as vague as possible. She was telling me that, and she listens to this, so she may hear me say this. She was telling me that her students have a hard time with very simple, basic commands, such as, I'm just giving you this example. This is not the example that she gave, but it's very close, okay? Such as, let's get in a line. That they don't understand that concept, but if you were to say line, they know what you mean by that. It could also be that you have to direct them physically to get in the line because they have a hard time understanding these. I don't want to even call that a bigger concept because to me it's not for this particular grade. But
have we stunted their growth with technology?
I think so.
Ugh.
I know. And then I told her that the other day I witnessed, and again, listen, I know that we all do things in any moment because you might be trying to just get through the next 5 minutes or 5 seconds without your kid screaming. But I saw a mom, no, it was a grandmother, it had to be the grandmother, with her, I'm going to say a 2-year-old on her hip. So she's got one arm, like her left arm around the hip, around the baby, okay, the 2-year-old toddler. Her right hand had the phone extended out. So as they were walking, the child was looking at the phone. It was just a cartoon kind of thing. And again, maybe she had taken her from her mother and was trying to prevent some screaming, crying fit. But I'm also like, let them have the screaming, crying fit. It's okay.
It's that instant gratification.
Yeah, and I just thought, man, it's going to be so interesting from a sociological standpoint, psychological standpoint, everything standpoint. I don't know, 15 years from now, 10 years from now, what's going on?
Well, I had, and you and I talked a little bit about this, but I've saved it for the podcast. I had something that I watched this week that made me really think about our generation, Gen X, and just the different generations. And I always get a little confused on what even the generations are. So I looked it up.
We are Gen X.
We are Gen X, and we're going to talk about that in a minute because this is going to be fun. But okay, so Gen X is 1965 to 1980. For some reason, I think about Care Bears. When were Care Bears?
That was the 80s.
Was that the 80s? So my sister Danielle she's 80, so she's right there on the verge. Gen Y is also known as millennials. We hear that word all the time. 1981 to 1996.
See, that's Clay. Clay's 96, so he is right there on the verge of a Z to a millennial.
So the millennials are the first generation that had the internet. Then Gen Z is 97 which is the year I got married, 97 to 2012.
Yeah.
So that's then Gen Alpha.
Gen A.
Gen A is 2013 to now. So I thought this was interesting. Gen Z has the highest college enrollment of any generation, and they're the first social age group that had complete access to digital technology their whole entire lives.
Yeah. It's crazy to think that like we can't relate to that.
No.
Can't relate to it at all.
I was in college. We got called into the computer lab to learn about the World Wide Web. And the computers were huge, and we were all looking around like, what is electronic mail?
Yeah. I'll never use this.
Yeah. Why does this matter? But I thought this was so funny. Somebody posted this about, did you ever have MySpace?
No. No.
My sisters did. I was a little bit beyond that. But somebody posted and it said, millennials and MySpace would send Gen Z into a coma. We literally ranked our friends in order from favorite to least favorite, 1 through 8, and we made no apologies for it. If you weren't acting right that day, you were off the list, publicly, execution style. Can you imagine if we ranked everybody 1 through 8 in today's day and time?
No. I mean, I guess we do it subconsciously in our brain.
But not on our MySpace wall.
No. No.
It's just funny looking
I don't know
back.
when I created my Facebook page or account, whatever. I don't know. I'd have to look that up, but.
My sister Catherine was in college at Knoxville, and that's how I learned about Facebook. Her friend, because she was like, it's so weird that other people are on Facebook. It's supposed to be a way for college kids to keep up with each other.
Yeah.
And then when we all came on to Facebook, they all jumped over to Instagram. And then it morphed into Snapchat, I guess, from there. But it's so funny.
I don't know. All of social media is an interesting thing, for sure.
Okay, well, what comes to mind when we talk about the greatest generation,
Gen X?
What do you think about?
I just love the fact that, I do love that we have experienced both. We understand a world without technology, and we understand a world with technology. And we see the benefits of both. We definitely understand the cons of having social media, and I think every single person our age would say, oh, praise God, we did not have the internet back when we were kids. And everyone says, yes, amen, thank you, Jesus. I just love the fact that we grew up in the time that we grew up. Just we understand what it feels like and the benefits of being disconnected, but the reality of that too is that we don't live that way anymore. Like, that's what's so weird. Like, we understand the beauty of it, but yet we choose, most people, I deeply appreciate people, my buddy Ted Cluck, who does not have social media. I'm so grateful.
It's almost like an alien. It's like, how do you not know what's going on?
Yeah. Like, I tried to send him something the other day that I thought would be good for our union podcast, and he was like, I can't open that because I don't have that app. And I was like, oh, well, let me try to use my words and explain to you what I'm trying to show you.
Do a screen recording.
Yeah, I know. I was like, this is okay. Never
luxury,
mind.
Though.
Yeah. So that's what I love. I love the fact that we just. I mean, again, it has its pros and cons. That we just kind of did what we wanted. We went outside and played, and nobody knew where we were. Again,
we stayed out until
the streetlights came on.
And
there's definitely pros and cons in that, but just such a simpler time. It'll be so interesting to see what our kids, this Gen Z and this new generation, Gen A, like, what are they going to experience? I don't know. I can't even imagine. But I'm already becoming the person like, oh, well, I remember back in the day, like, you know.
Are there any movies that you loved?
16 Candles.
Yes.
Like, I remember thinking, oh, man. That was awesome. I loved TV shows like Friday Night when Dallas came on, and
Knots Landing.
Knots Landing, Love Boat.
Yeah, the Love Boat.
That all of that seemed so scandalous and wild. Three's Company. What was that even about? Loved it though. Loved it.
So I'm glad you.
Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley. Oh my gosh.
Have you seen that? So this is what made all this come to life in my mind, and why we're even talking about it. I watched, and if you haven't seen it yet, you need to. On Hulu. There is a documentary called Brats.
Haven't seen it.
It is about the Brat Pack.
Oh, I bet it's phenomenal.
It is so good, but I want us to talk about it because as I was watching it, I thought, Fran and I, first of all, I thought Fran would love this. This has got, I mean, it's nothing but Gen X, but also the things that came out, and I'm not going to give it all away, but there are things, and I even was like, I need to write this down so we can talk about it.
Please tell me right now. What did we say? Things we said?
No, things they said in the documentary that related so strongly to conversations that we have on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
In a way that, okay, for me, when I watch like 16 Candles and some of these movies from back in our day, I think what drew me to that is these people, I relate to these people.
Mm-hmm.
Or, the Breakfast Club.
Right.
Think about...
we thought we were all the same age, but they were really older than us at the time. That was always disappointing. Like on Melrose Place.
Yes.
And they're like, oh no, she really wasn't 20. She was 32. And you're like, no, don't tell me that.
Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I still say us because they draw you
right.
in and you feel like you're part of
mm-hmm.
their friendship and we see ourselves in them. Molly Ringwald.
Oh yeah. See, in my mind, she's still, however old.
Such a queen. St. Elmo's Fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just all these. So, and they talked about how, like the Brat Pack, this group of actors paved the way for shows like Friends.
Yeah.
And all these friendship, TV shows and movies. But who do you remember being in the Brat Pack?
I'm horrible with names. Actors? I can see all of their faces, but I'm terrible with names. All the cute guys. What were their names?
These are this is what's interesting.
They're probably not cute anymore either.
Well, kind of.
Mm-hmm. They've aged.
They've aged a little. There was a group that I remembered being part of the Brat Pack, and the Brat Pack was a reference to a group of actors in the 40s, the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
And then and I didn't know where Brat Pack came from, and I just thought, well, the Brat Pack was the coolest of the cool in Generation X.
Yeah.
I looked at it like, oh, how fun! These are cool people who don't mind being called this.
Right.
Emilio Estevez.
Yes.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Yes.
Rob Lowe.
Every girl was swooning over Rob Lowe.
Andrew McCarthy.
Rob Lowe's still pretty cute, I think.
He is. He's on there.
He may have had some work done. I'm not sure.
We'll forgive him for it. He looks nice. Andrew McCarthy. Demi Moore. Or Demi Moore. Judd Nelson. Molly Ringwald. We talked about her. Ali Sheedy.
Yeah.
And then there are, when you look up the Brat Pack, there's all these others, like Tom Cruise, and there's all this conversation about, like, well, are they or are they not? So I was looking at this like, well, that's the elite of the elite. Everybody would want to be part of the Brat Pack. Here's what's crazy. Andrew McCarthy, in this documentary, is trying to find the others in the Brat Pack and help them heal from being labeled brats.
Oh, wow.
They apparently took it as a negative and internalized it, and it deeply affected them in a negative way.
I would have never thought.
Who knew?
Who knew?
So all of us are just like heralding these people as the greatest of our generation and the ultimate. I can hear the music. I don't know the song, but
I know.
Don't You Forget About Me.
Yes.
The intro and it builds and it's playing. So they are having all these conversations. You've got to watch it, but the quotes that I jotted down were, all you want in life is to be seen, and I felt like I wasn't being seen. And I thought, here you have these actors of this whole generation, and they process through, like, why did we take being called the Brat Pack as an offense and let it limit our entire future? So a lot of ways it minimized, and just thinking about the power of being labeled and knowing I'm more than that. I'm not a brat. I'm a talented actor. And they didn't even take it lightly the way that you'd think they would have. And plus, it's a play on words with the Rat Pack.
Right.
But there was a reporter who was trying himself to stand out and write an article that got attention. And in the context of that article, calls them the Brat Pack, and it stuck. So I'm not going to give this part away, but at the end, he goes and meets with that author and confronts him on how he labeled them something.
Wow.
And calls him out on it.
That deeply affected them.
It's crazy how, and I think it was Demi Moore that said, the event is the event. It happened, but we choose to give it power to either help us grow or to harm us.
Yeah. Well, that's for all of us. That's a word for all of us.
Yeah. And then they talked about how, that was formative years and they weren't sure enough of themselves at that point. And if that had happened at age 40, they probably would not have cared.
Right. But they were in such formative years and in Hollywood.
And just
Not just like regular Joes, you know.
insecure, and but they talk about how, we need people that relate to us and not feel isolated, and knowing that they all went through the same thing together. And one of them said, I lost control of the narrative of my career. That stood out to me. But anyway, it was just, I'm looking back over here to see if there was anything else. I don't want to just read you all these things, but I jotted down some quotes and then there were clips. So there was a clip of, you remember Phil Donahue?
Yeah, he recently died.
Yes, I saw that.
I know.
So I can remember.
I mean, he was
watching that
ahead
with
of
my
his
mother.
time.
Yes, he was.
It came on at 9 a.m. Why do I remember that? I don't know. But
then didn't Oprah come after?
Oprah was later, and she
Yeah.
came in the afternoons. But he was like 9 a.m. talk show.
Yeah.
And I thought, what are we doing right now? But we all loved it.
I know. And just perspective on that. They were finally like, you know what? We're part of something that people are still talking about 30 years later.
Wow.
They're still doing that, but it really threw me for a loop to hear them struggle, because Andrew McCarthy was struggling because I think Emilio Estevez maybe turned down a movie when he heard Andrew was also being considered, because they went out of their way to avoid being seen together and working together because they didn't want to be labeled forever. So it caused them to completely disband. It was just really...
Well, like in today's modern times, that the cast of Friends probably suffered through something very similar, in that I'm always going to be known as Phoebe from Friends, or Rachel, or Monica. Now, they did all do other things, but
nothing bigger than that.
That's right, nothing bigger than that. And that's just got to be tough. You don't realize the impact that that's having on you in the moment, or others in the moment, until much later.
Yeah.
But that's true of all of us. So
yeah, I thought it was really fascinating. If you are like us, a child of Gen Z, what are we? Gen X. Or if you're younger and just think the 80s were really cool, they were.
They were. It was great.
It's like a time capsule, but it was not what I expected it to be.
Did you love 80s music?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Our buddy Travis Cottrell, he loves the 80s music. And man, he could whip out a song and start singing it or playing it. And I'm like, he's just a music mastermind in his mind anyway. Everything just lives there, and he could just spit out any song, play any song. But occasionally when he would do that at church, and it would just be like, we would all just start singing right along. It's amazing to me that music the lyrics of music just lives in your brain forever.
And it takes you back to how it felt, who I was with. Was there a chill in the air? Was it
what cars were we driving?
Yes,
we went to the mall. All those things that you're like, that doesn't happen anymore.
Last week, I got to meet my son's friend, who is a female, for the first time, and my one instruction was, don't be embarrassing, or don't be cringy. I think is the word. So we're in a gas station on the way to a football game out of town, and Wake Me Up Before You Go comes on the speakers, and I hear Jitterbug, and then I'm like, okay, don't do it.
Was that Wham?
Wham. And
George Michael.
And I was in a baton recital, and that was my song, and not only did I twirl a baton and did not drop it, but I also was chosen to do the knives, which had the hooks that hooked together, and you had to swing them. And
we ain't playing.
And I'm the same girl that dropped the phone on my foot.
Yeah.
Like, this is, in hindsight, I'm like, why did my mother let me do this? How did I get through that without hurting myself or someone else? Probably 6th grade, 7th grade. But I literally could not, my body, just like muscle memory, in front of Cole and this person I'm trying to impress, I'm reenacting without a baton most of a baton routine in a gas station.
No, that's not embarrassing at all.
40. So
sorry, Cole.
This is why you shouldn't
That's just
bring
what
your
we
mother.
do. That's what we do. But I'm the same way with like.
I knew the moves. I couldn't tell you what was on my grocery list when I got to Kroger last night, but I knew every move.
Yeah.
I knew when to do this and when to do that, and all the words of that song.
I know.
I should start singing my grocery list to a tune.
Listen, let's just all do that. Maybe that'll help us.
That would be a good practice. Speaking of practice,
practicing the
this
way.
is our segue
Y'all,
to our spiritual segment.
That's what we've said. Like, we're gonna have 2 segments, and we can flip flop in and out very quickly. But now we're transitioning out of the ridiculous
into the spiritual.
And for those of you that are watching, here's the book, Practicing the Way. We've talked about it briefly before, but I'm at the point in this where I feel like this should be mandatory reading, and
wholeheartedly, and a great gift for a graduate, for a Christmas present, for a birthday.
Yeah.
My daughter gave it to me. The college kids are loving this book.
He's
easy,
also the author of Eliminating
The
Hurry.
Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
That one. John Mark Comer.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, a coworker and I, she came to Bible study last night, and when we get done, we're gonna grab a group of girls and go back through it again, because it's just so good, y'all. It's so good.
What are you loving about it so far?
Well, let me just open it up and read to you the first 30 pages. Just kidding.
We'll start with the cover. I love what's on the cover.
Yeah, practicing the way. Be with Jesus. Become like...
Rewind.
Oh, and here's what's so funny, Angela. On the front of the cover, it says, New York Times bestselling author of The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
Sometimes we miss the obvious.
I mean,
kids.
sometimes it's right there in front of y'all. There's your lesson for the day. Practicing the way. Be with Jesus. Become like him. Do as he did. And I'm just going to, golly, what the heck? There's so much that I'm trying to find what I talked about in class. Let's just start with the fact that, again, can I just read the first 30?
I think you're going to have to.
I think
don't know how we choose.
I think you're going to have to get this book.
There is more not highlighted.
I know.
Or more, I'm not even saying that right. We have highlighted and
Everything.
underlined just about every word on the page.
Everything. Okay, I'm just gonna read this for just
Is
a
it
second, okay?
highlighted or high lit? Okay, go ahead.
Let's also remind you people that Angela and I like to make up words or say words incorrectly
and there's
all the
one coming
time.
in this study. I've
Okay.
already messed it up 4 times.
In this book?
Uh-huh.
You have?
Contemplative.
Oh, contemplative is not contemplative.
Contemplative.
Dr. Dub, why do you trust us with anything?
Colloquium.
Yeah, I still will never say that word. Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Contrary to popular opinion, Jesus did not invent discipleship. Rabbis with a small... Oh my gosh, I don't even know this word, Angela.
Uh-oh, what page are you
Turn to
on?
page 7. Y'all,
Uh-oh.
how do you say this word?
Uh-oh.
It's spelled Coterie. What is that word, y'all? Dr. Dub, how do you pronounce that word? Angela's getting her
Where
phone.
are you?
Page 7, 3 goals
Page
of an
7.
apprentice.
Oh.
That first paragraph. What is that word, Angela?
Mm-mm. I'm fixing to ask.
Y'all,
C-O.
how do you say it? Dear Siri, Dr. Dub, can you call into the show right now?
We need a call-in line.
We need a call-in
Okay,
number.
Here we go. Let's see.
Hang on. It's coming, y'all.
It's coming. Here we go.
Coterie.
Coterie.
Coterie?
Oh, she'll do it slow.
Coterie.
Practice. No, I don't want to practice.
Coterie.
Coterie is an intimate and often exclusive group of persons with a unifying common interest or purpose.
I've never heard that word in my life.
Coterie.
I'm showing my ignorance right here and right now,
No,
y'all.
we're learning.
Oh, we're
never done
learning? That's what we're gonna call
in
it.
the library. We're in the Logos learning about coterie.
And I'm holding a book in my hand, confessing to the internet, I don't know a word. Okay, contrary to popular opinion, Jesus did not invent discipleship. Rabbis with a small coterie of disciples were regularly seen walking around Galilee. Just a few years before Jesus, Rabbi Hillel called 80 disciples. Rabbi Akiva, a famous teacher a few decades after Jesus, had only 5. But thousands were said to follow him around Israel. In the New Testament itself, John the Baptizer had disciples, as did the Pharisees. The Apostle Paul was formerly a disciple of a nationally known rabbi named Gamaliel. Discipleship, or as I'm about to relabel it, apprenticeship, was the pinnacle of the first century Jewish educational system, much like a PhD or graduate program in our system today. So the author goes on to tell us that Jewish kids started school around 5, and it was like called the House of the Book, which was equivalent of elementary school. By the age 12 or 13, most kids would have the entire Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, memorized. The entire first 5 books of the Bible memorized. Y'all, come on. Okay. By age 17, they would have memorized, wait for it, the entire Old Testament.
Can you imagine?
No.
I struggle with the preamble to the Constitution.
I don't know the word coterie. Charcuterie?
These kids knew the entire, that's crazy.
They were so brilliant.
Well, we get lazy around here.
Yeah, because everything, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the best of the best of the best, the best of the best of the best would apply to apprentice under a rabbi. It was really hard to get into. Apprenticeship programs were the equivalent, bless you, of the Ivy League today, but even more exclusive. And so that's where I just think, man, so the concept, which we're not going to get into right now, because there's just so much packed in the first 30 pages, but this idea of following Jesus, of being a disciple of his, the fact that the ordinary, regular Joe guys just dropped their nets and followed him was radical.
It's powerful. And I like the part that said the overwhelming majority were done and basically told, go make babies and pray that they become rabbis and apply your trade. Like you're done, but maybe good luck to your offspring. Maybe they'll be better than you were.
To follow Jesus then meant to walk alongside him in a posture of listening, learning, observation, obedience, and imitation. For Jesus's first apprentices, the goal wasn't to pass a test, get a degree, or receive a certificate to frame on your office wall. It was to master the art of living in God's good world by learning from Jesus how to make steady progress into the kingdom of God. It was less like learning chemistry and more like learning jujitsu. But anyway, it's just talking about what is discipleship, the fact that the word Christian is only used 3 times in Scripture.
I did not know that.
But the word apprentice would have been used 269 times. It's just like it's reshaped my whole understanding of what it means to be a follower. Am I a Christian? Yes. Am I an apprentice of Jesus? Ooh, that's the harder question.
It is. And the part, I got tickled, but this stuck out, the part about disciple being a noun and not a verb.
Yep.
And he says, while I'm all for pastors giving their time to foster people's growth in Jesus, I would argue you can't disciple somebody any more than you could Christian them, believer them, or follower them.
Yep.
And it just, we hear all the time, or who are you discipling or who discipled you? But he's saying not one time in the entire New Testament is disciple used as a verb.
Yep.
It's just an interesting perspective, and it really, already in what little bit we've read of it, it is a call to action in a way that makes me excited.
Well, and we talked a little bit about this last night, and then we're going to move on because this is a long episode already. But the fact that, the church, we bring people into salvation, but then what?
Right.
Are you helping them? Are we helping them do as this book is challenging us to do, to be with Jesus?
Yes.
And to become like him and to do as he did. And I think it really causes you to evaluate your relationship with Jesus on a very daily basis. Am I becoming like him? Am I doing what I should be doing? And I think you just you sit here now. We're not that far into it, but you're just considering, who am I and what am I doing?
Well, I know we have some Enneagram 3s who are listening, who love to strive and make things harder than they have to be, the way that I do, because we talk about it on occasion. I have loved this contemplative prayer because I don't know how to be still and do nothing without some kind of checklist or duty.
Do you feel guilty?
A little bit. And it's the practice this week was prayer time. And the idea of me setting a timer for 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, that feels like an eternity when I'm steadily reminding myself, this is not, even though it's people who have needs, I'm not saying I'm not going to pray for them, but I would immediately fall into, God, you're so great, please do all these things for all these people. And the way this is described is just spending time with Jesus, not instead of, but along with, and primarily just abiding. How many times have we talked about abiding? But he talks about, and it's coming up later in the book, and we will talk about this more on future episodes, but just enjoying and being with God. And in one of these chapters, he says it's simply, I look at him, he looks at me, and we are happy.
Yeah.
And just, it is like my body relaxes and exhales just in this posture of don't do anything, just be with Jesus.
And it's like when you go, if you're going for a walk, like as many times as I go for a walk, like you don't have to listen to anything. You can just like listen to maybe what he wants to say to you.
I did that this week, and I thought, the birds are all singing. Are they always singing?
Yeah, and I'm
just too busy and I'm missing it.
Oh, for sure they are.
But just in that moment, my one prayer prompt was find something he created and thank him for it.
Yeah.
And there were 9 million all around me, and anyway, it was just.
We could talk about that 1,000 times and ways, but contemplative. I do think that you should get this book. You should read it. You should grab some people together and read it. It's just beautiful. I'm such a fan of his. I've heard of him, but I haven't read a single thing until this, and absolutely love it. So anyway, thank you for coming to our spiritual segment.
That's right. Never know where we're going to wind up, but we always try to make it God honoring and end with Jesus.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Y'all are awesome. You're incredible. Keep pressing on in the name of Jesus. And this is what our Bible study leader, Kelly Elliott, who is phenomenal, this is what she reads over us. I think I read it in a previous episode. This is how she closes us out in study. And so I'll close out this episode since we're talking about the book. This is a 1st century Jewish blessing. May you be covered in the dust of your rabbi. Let that be said of us. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We love you so much. We'll see you next time. Have a great week. Goodbye, everybody.